me thank Tiger, not only for your leadership here, but in the competitive world of sports, because maybe you didn't know that Tiger Stockbridge is the AFSCME International Cornhole Champion. A title I hope you will keep forever. Thank you to the Council 93 officers. You do such a great job supporting AFSCME members all across New England. And thank you to your Executive Director, Mark Bernard. Mark does a great job making your voices heard on our International Executive Board. He's become a really great colleague and friend. So thank you, Mark. And mostly thanks to all of you, the New England activists, volunteer member organizers, and leaders who do so much to strengthen your workplaces, your communities, and your union. So let's start with the number. 50. 50 days that separate us from Election Day 2024. These are the final weeks and the final laps of the race. But the green machine does not coast to the finish line. We put the pedal all the way to the floor. So AFSCME family, are you ready to elect pro-worker, pro-union, pro-freedom candidates?
Yes.
Yes. So is your AFSCME family, from Portland, Maine to Portland, Oregon, from Danvers to Detroit. We are all in for Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and crossroads moment for our nation. Our freedoms, our families, and our futures are on the ballot. And we've got the opportunity to elect candidates who deliver for workers. Candidates like Elizabeth Warren, who you heard from yesterday, and New Hampshire's future governor, Joyce Craig. Did you just walk her away? She's got an excellent color choice for her jacket. Today, I want to talk about how we do our work in these critical 50 days, how we put our energy and skills behind winning on November 5th and beyond. Because we've got two paths ahead of us. One path leads to Project 2025. How many of you have heard of it? Raise your hand if you've heard of Project 2025. Okay, most of you. And maybe you heard about it because of our convention in Los Angeles. How many were there at our AFSCME convention? Okay, we talked about it a lot. If you don't know or you want to learn more, you can get the horrifying details at a website that our AFSCME staff created, sayno-to-project2025.org. But the bottom line is that this is Trump's plan to shred our rights if he wins re-election. It would give him unprecedented control over our lives. It would turn back the clock on civil rights and workers' rights and voting rights. It would eliminate the Head Start program that provides early education to hundreds of thousands of children. And, most importantly for us, it would ban public sector unions. Remember the Janus fight, what that was about? Our existence. This fight is about our existence too. It would cancel our contracts, cut billions of dollars from essential programs that our communities need. It's a vicious attack on everything that we hold dear as union, as trade unionists, and as public service workers. So at the convention, we voted to do everything in our power to prevent that plan from becoming a reality. And many of you were there, as we saw when we passed the resolution to resist Project 2025 with the full force of our 1.4 million members across the country. Because a better path exists. A path to freedom for working people. The freedom to retire with dignity. The freedom to enjoy time off with a new baby or take a loved one to the doctor. The freedom to make our own reproductive health decisions. And the freedom to organize and bargain collectively to have a union contract. choice in this election. The values and vision of working people could not be more different from the MAGA extremists. We believe in making life-saving medicine like insulin affordable. They will not lift a hand to prevent greedy corporations from putting profits before people. We believe that every worker deserves safety, security, and a voice on the job. They want to silence our voice by banning our union from existence. We believe that everyone should pay their fair share in taxes. They want to give trillions of dollars in tax breaks to the 1% and to giant corporations. So we know what's at stake in the next 50 days. How are we going to make the most of the time we have? First, we've got to register every AFSCME member to vote. I've talked about this a lot lately, and we've got a new 411 video out about it. There's a voter registration gap in our country, in our labor movement, and even in our union. Might be surprising to you because we're a union that believes in getting our voices heard in the political world as well as within our union. But 1 in 4 AFSCME members is not registered to vote. So think about your own workplace for a minute. 1 in 4 of the folks you work with may not be registered to vote. It might be a little more, it might be a little less. We've got thousands of members right here in Council 93's locals that are not registered to vote and will not be able to vote in this election unless we register them. Just imagine the power we would add to our union if we bring them with us to the polls on election day. And this, yes, that's right. And you've got a great opportunity almost as soon as you get home because Tuesday is National Voter Registration Day. And we've got a site on our AFSCME webpage, afscme.org/vote. Any person in our union can check their voter registration status, find their polling place, and find out how to register if they're not registered. So will you go back home and remind people that this is their chance to make their voices heard? They've got to register to vote. Can you do that next week? Yeah. Right. We've got to do is have some crucial conversations with our coworkers, with our family, with our neighbors about what's at stake in this election. Because we have a special opportunity as unions. You may not know this, but unions are really popular right now in the US. I think the latest Gallup poll had us at 70%. Show me a politician, with all due respect, or an institution in this country that has that kind of popularity. In fact, a lot of people are losing faith in institutions of all kinds, but faith in unions has remained rock solid in this country. So what does that mean? Who else is going to build multiracial working class solidarity? Who else is going to bring people the real facts about what's at stake in this election? Who else is going to talk to people about Project 2025 and cut through all the noise? We've got to do that through conversations. And I know those conversations can be hard because sometimes we're talking to coworkers who aren't with us on everything, who are problem children, might I say, who are tough to get through to. And I know what I do when I need to have a tough conversation like that. I avoid it. But we can't avoid those conversations in the next 50 days. We've got to find a way to have them. So sometimes, for me, I got to remember what I've learned in the School of Union Experience, which is take a deep breath, remember to breathe, find a quiet place, and do it one-on-one. Remember to listen, ask questions, try to figure out where this person is coming from. But especially when it comes to GOTV, we can also remember what we've learned from our AFSCME polling and experience with doing GOTV work. We know that members want to know where the candidates stand on the issues. We hear it over and over again. AFSCME members do not want to be told how to vote. They want to know the information. Where does this candidate stand? Where does that candidate stand? They want to be able to make their own decisions. And they want to know our criteria for making endorsements. If we share our criteria, and you know what they are, we want to know candidates' track record on the freedom to organize, their plan for addressing the staffing crisis, where they stood when it came to funding our contracts. When we share those criteria with members, no matter where they are on the political spectrum, even conservative members will say, I get it, those criteria make sense. So we got to share our criteria, we got to share where the candidates stand. And our most recent internal polling from last month shows that members are most motivated to vote when we talk about what's at stake and specifically lay out what's in Project 2025. You don't have to go through the whole thing, it's 1,000 pages long, but you can pull out that piece about Head Start or about eliminating our union from the face of the earth and share with people what that plan has in store for us. We've got to draw the contrast between freedom and fear, between cynicism and solidarity, and between voting for the future and being dragged back into the past. Last but not least, we've got to continue our work past the election because we know that our AFSCME Strong work is about holding elected officials accountable to what they run on. And the good news is that Council 93 knows a thing or two about mobilizing and holding elected officials accountable. This year, you ratified 14 first contracts covering more than 1,000 workers. That means you've got many, many new members of this union, people who formed unions for the first time, who've got a voice on the job and a better life because of the work that you did and your team did at Council. We set a goal for recruiting volunteer member organizers in our union. You blew that goal away in Council 93. Stand up if you've been a volunteer member organizer. Gone and helped other workers organize in our union. Form unions for the first time. You can join them. There's nothing more satisfying than helping a worker going from having no rights to having union rights for the first time. And whether you're rallying on the steps of the Massachusetts State House telling your legislators to do their job and fund the pay raises and contract you fought for, or moving the Vermont state legislature to pass the PRO Act into state law, or advocating for card check in Maine so that it's easier for public service workers to join us, or mobilizing to defeat right to work yet again in New Hampshire. You do that every time. You showed that our progress in politics and in our workplaces depends on being part of the political and legislative process. So now, we call on your Council 93 AFSCME strength to win this election. Your connections and conversations with your coworkers and your community are going to make the difference. Whether you're knocking on doors or texting everyone in your phone to ask about their plan to vote, making sure every coworker is registered and knows where the candidates stand, filling your car and driving to the polls on election day, or maybe helping in a battleground state like Pennsylvania, where our AFSCME family needs our help to bring it home for pro-worker candidates. Wherever you are in this country, in every state where we are, you can find an AFSCME member working to elect candidates like Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, and all the other pro-worker, pro-union, pro-freedom candidates. They're doing the thing I always think of when it's election time, something that former Congressmember John Lewis called push, pull, preach. We've got to do those three things when it comes to elections. We got to push elected officials to do the right thing. We got to pull our coworkers to the polls, and we got to preach about why it matters to public service workers. When we explain what's at stake, when we register new voters, when we have crucial conversations, and when we mobilize with our AFSCME strength, we are going to win on November 5th and save democracy and our union. So AFSCME family, whether you're from Maine or New Hampshire or Vermont or Massachusetts, are you ready to get out the vote?